Joining us on the line tonight for a very, very special milestone episode for us is one of the all-time greats, and that is something that can get thrown around a lot in professional wrestling, but not when you are talking about a WWE Hall of Famer, an NWA World Champion, an ECW World Champion, and a guy who has literally wrestled all over the world and wrestled every single person you can name off the top of your head. It is our absolute privilege and distinction to be joined tonight on our special milestone episode by the one and only Terry Funk. Thank you so much for joining the two-man power trip of wrestling.
Well, boy, that was quite an intro there. It made an old man feel good.
Oh, Mr. Funk, it is my absolute pleasure to be speaking with you tonight, and to tell you the truth, to have somebody like you on, like I said, there's a lot of people can throw the word legend or icon out there, but you have done it all, you've seen it all, and one of the things we're here to talk about tonight is, and I can't believe I'm saying it, another return to the ring for Terry Funk with Big Time Wrestling. The first night being on my birthday, so I'm going to kind of take it as a special birthday gift for me, September 22nd, and then September 23rd, returning for Big Time Wrestling. How do you feel about coming out of retirement one more time, lacing up the boots, and doing it up down at the Double Cross Ranch and bringing Big Time Wrestling some more memories?
How do I feel about it? I feel really great about it. I feel great that I'm able to get back into the ring. You know, I've had a little bit of a physical problem, you know. But I feel like I am prepared for it, and I've worked hard at it, and I'm back in shape one more time, you know. And it's a great card they've got there. And so I'm looking forward to being in the ring with the Rock and Roll Express, and also going against Lawler one more time. What an idiot.
Yeah, absolutely. The Rock, Funk, and Roll Express versus Lawler's Memphis Mafia.
It's Funkin'. It's the
Funkin' Rock and Roll Express.
That's right. That's what we are. The Funkin' Rock and Roll Express.
And you guys are taking on the Lawler's Memphis Mafia, which is Lawler, his son Brian Christopher, and Doug Gilbert. So a lot of tradition on that side, and of course a lot of tradition on your side. So tying it up with Jerry Lawler one more time, another chapter in your storied rivalry. How are you feeling, looking forward to seeing the King across the ring one more time?
I feel, I certainly don't feel blessed to be in there against the King. The King's nuts. We all know that. Jerry Lawler's, he's as nuts as I am. He's going to try to be going in the ring as long as I've gone into the ring. I don't know if he's going to try to catch up with me or what. Jerry Lawler he is truly a legend in that area, and his family is a legend, and it's a pretty amazing thing.
And both the area of Raleigh, North Carolina, and Spartanburg, South Carolina, obviously huge hotbeds for wrestling in their day. You've obviously traveled through there many a times. How about that fan base there in that southern part of the country? Huge fans of the NWA, huge fans of the Crockett-era promotions. But what do you feel about coming back to the South there, North Carolina, South Carolina, and seeing those hot-bedded fans of the South getting rowdy one more time?
You hit it right when you said hotbed. That's it's been for years the hotbed of wrestling, and even now, as it's and I honestly, sincerely mean this, it's a hotbed of independence, and there's a great bunch of guys there, a great bunch of wrestlers. I want to get over there and see a lot of my friends, a lot of my fans that I haven't seen in a few years, and I want to get back with them. but I definitely want to get back in the ring with the idiot, too. One more time, Lawler.
Yeah, and what a story rivalry. Obviously, we all remember the empty arena match. It's one of those time capsule matches that any wrestling fan wants to see a brutal, brutal fight has to go back and watch. But is there one moment between you and Lawler that you feel stands out in that rivalry, or do you think that the empty arena match is still the one that everybody is going to talk about forever?
I think that the empty arena match is going to be talked about for a long time, but I think that this match coming up with the fucking rock and roll and Lawler's crew, I think it's going to be a classic too. I definitely do. I think it's going to be a huge classic match that's going to be in people's memories for years. And I'm going to try to make it that.
Absolutely. And you versus Lawler is such a great epic feud, but also you versus the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And I have to mention this because we were honored enough to have his last ever interview, which was just a couple of days before he had passed. And one of the last guys that he talked about was, of course, Terry Funk. And he told a great story about how you used to call him Fatso and hide and yell out Fatso. And then when he would catch you, you would say, I meant, isn't that so? That's so. So some awesome stuff, some awesome history between you guys. What was the feud like with you and Dusty?
It was pretty insane, especially in Florida. You know, and it was probably the greatest feud in wrestling at that time. All you had to do is put us in the ring, not even put us in the ring, put us in the same arena. That's the same thing with Lawler, you know. Put us in the same arena. We don't have to be in the ring together, and we'll find each other. But the people know that we're going to find each other before the night's over.
Now, he mentioned that Fatso story. Is that true? Would you go around talking about Dusty, calling him Fatso?
If Dusty was close enough to hear it, I'd go ahead and say, is that so? Is that so? He was too dumb to pick up on it.
What was it about you guys, you and Dusty, that, you know, you could never get along? You guys were always feuding, always having wild, iconic, crazy brawls. What was it like between you two and the chemistry? You guys never seemed to quite get along.
Well, you know, it was a continuous feud. Not even it went back further than myself in wrestling. It went back to West Texas University, you know, and it actually went back to whenever Dusty was playing behind me. He was playing like second team guard, and he could never start for West Texas because I was always ahead of him. I was always so much better than Dusty. Dusty just couldn't stand it. I was an amazing individual. Dusty, he just couldn't quite get there.
And you guys, it's funny. It's just one of those things. It's just that you guys just don't mix well together. You don't play well together. And Tony was telling us.
That's kind of like Lawler, you know. Feuds, you know, is feuds that's been going on for years, and in the world of wrestling is Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler. You know, Terry Funk and Dusty Rhodes. Those were two of the great feuds of the past. And not the past with Lawler is I can't wait to get my hands on him.
And we can't wait to see that.
That's the God's honest truth. That's the God's honest truth.
And we can't wait to see that. That is great. And Tony was telling us the last time that you wrestled Dusty, he actually ended up setting the ring on fire. So even though Dusty won the match, he really kind of lost.
Well, that was the last of the ring caught on fire, and it was quite a chaotic match. I have never been anything but in the chaotic match with Dusty Rhodes. He was, as I can't, him and Lawler both are overbearing, and he and Lawler both. I don't think I've ever called anybody else but those two this, egg-sucking dogs. That's what both of them are, Jerry Lawler is, he's also a pig. He wants all of the money. He wants everything. That's Jerry Lawler's way. It's not my way. I'm a wonderful person. I'm a great guy. Jerry Lawler's not. Dusty Rhodes, he was okay. He couldn't quite make the football player. He played behind me the entire time at West Texas. That's why he couldn't stand me, Dusty Rhodes. I was just a little bit better than he was. And I'd like to find that idiot kid of his. What's his name?
Cody?
What's the goofball's name? Cody. I'd like to beat the hell out of Cody sometime. That would be a real pleasure. If Cody's around, tell him to come on up there to the arena. Whenever I get there, I'll take on Lawler first, and then I'll take on Cody after him, and anybody else too.
That would be great. I would love to see the Rhodes Funk rivalry somewhat renewed.
Well, I would too. I would like to get after him, but first I've got Jerry Lawler, and I'm going to take care of him, and that's for damn sure.
Jerry Lawler did blind you at one point, if you remember. It was that whole blinding angle.
My eye, I still got one problem with it. I can't see out of my right eye. I can't see out of my right eye.
And that's a very, very famous feud and a very famous angle, especially, when you're saying that about your eye. And do you think that Jerry's got it coming to him? Maybe you're going to go after his right eye now?
What I'm going to go after is his ass. I'm going to kick him right in the ass as soon as he steps through the ropes. That's what I'm going to do.
Now, if you think of the long-term feud, obviously with Lawler and with Dusty, who would you say is on top? Would you say that you ended up winning the feud with Dusty and you're winning the feud with Jerry Lawler?
Hell, I never lost to him. They're both has-beens. That's the truth. They're both has-beens. I've been around a lot longer than what they have. I'm a lot better than what they were.
That is very, very true. Obviously, the Texas Bronco, one of the greatest of all time. Now, I got to just think of one other guy that you had a very, very big feud with, and that was the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and obviously our thoughts and prayers are with him, with his health and his recovery. But what are your thoughts on your big-time feud with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, back in 1989 over the NWA World title?
That was quite a feud there. It was a very bitter feud too, and it was a very rough feud to go through with Rick, because he certainly didn't like me at that time, and I didn't like him, and we were both trying to be at the top of championship wrestling from Georgia. And at that time, I felt like I was much better a competitor than what Rick was, But that's my own opinion,
And what are your thoughts on, Rick today? Have you had any interactions? Have you been able to talk to his family at all? Have you heard anything about the latest, the health on Nature Boy?
No, I sent my regards to him, and I wish him the best. And it's very important to me that he comes along, and to be very honest with you, is you take the old timers and there's not many of us that are left that are headed to the ring, you know. And I would, as I'd like to see Rick come back and come into the ring. I'd like to go in the ring with him. You know, I really mean that. I'd like to have one more chance with him. And,
we would.
Rick would, basically, I think he'd like to be in the ring with me, too. You know, hopefully that he would want me in there as a competitor. And, you know, it's just like Lawler. I'm looking forward to this. It's very important to me. And I have no intention of anything but coming out on top at the end of the night. And it means a great deal to me, because if I don't, I'll be totally upset with myself, because this will probably be the very last time that I ever get in the ring with him.
And that's why the fans got to get out there to Big Time Wrestling on the 22nd, 23rd. Could be the last time you see one of the most epic rivalries of all time with you and Lawler. And then, you know, like, my God, Terry Funk's career is just amazing. One of the all-time best, if not the greatest of all time. So many great matches and so many great memories. And I still remember that pile driver that you put Ric Flair at Wrestle War 89 after he fought Steamboat. He got a little, you know, he got in your face and you gave him a nice pile driver. I still remember that very fondly. Awesome, awesome moment.
That was a hell of a night for me. It was. It was a hell of a night that I put him through that table. And I think that the people around the country still remember that moment. If it wasn't me going through the table, if it wasn't him going through the table, I'm sure he would have tried to do the same thing to me. People go ahead and they say, "Why did you do that? Why not?"
That is a great point, because he sure as hell would have done it to you. And that was like one of the first times you kind of came out of a little bit of a retirement there, because you were behind the booth, calling the matches, and then you came out. Obviously, Flair got in your face, you power drive him, and it leads to one of the greatest feuds of all time. 89 could have been the feud of the year. Awesome match, a Great American Bash. Then you and Muta against Flair and Sting at Halloween Havoc, and then it all kind of culminates.
I never quit.
Yep. I was going to say, it all culminated with
I quit. I never quit. I never said I quit. And on top of that, I was never told the stipulations of the match. That's the truth.
Yes. The infamous 2 words, 5 letters, I quit. It was a 5-star match.
I want to go ahead and get that. I want to get that asshole in the ring too. Ric Flair one more time.
Yeah, you got to make up for that so-called quitting at New York Knockout.
That's exactly right.
One of the greatest matches of all time. Unbelievable match.
Thank you.
Just unbelievable.
Thank you. Been in a lot of battles, a lot of guys throughout the years. God, I don't even know how many. But the great ones are my gosh, I've been in the ring with every great wrestler from that came out of the 50s, honest to God, 50s. Came the Mike DiBiase's, all of them. Just every great wrestler that there's been. And, I'm going to tell you the truth, is there's been a lot of great wrestlers that came out of the Tennessee area there. And that's the God's honest truth. There's been some of the greatest ones of all time come right out of there. And, You know, as I'll say this, and with all honesty, that Jerry Lawler is, I knock him, say he's a moron, this and that. But I'm going to tell you something. The guy is a great competitor. And one thing he might be a moron, but he's not a quitter. And I know that. And I'm going to know that whenever I get in the ring with him this week. Not this week, but when I do.
Yeah, and another, it's like we said, it's another chapter. And like I said at the top, you've wrestled everybody in the world. But just quickly, if we can, we got to touch on this because I know the quote, and I would even be hard to say, the newer fans that came to know you in ECW. And we do another podcast with Shane Douglas weekly, and we talk about all the things that happen in ECW. But if you had to pick one guy from ECW, you've already mentioned Flair, you mentioned Lawler, you mentioned Dusty, but does Terry Funk have somebody from ECW that he feels he had one of those blood feuds with?
Douglas. Douglas was a very tough competitor. He was as tough of a guy as you get. Did you, on a national basis, he was always in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I really mean that. The guy was a great in-ring performer, an excellent competitor in the ring, and a tough guy. I had a hell of a feud with him, and he was a tough guy. The biggest feuds I've had in the business, who were they with? Douglas, he'd be right up there. But you got Dusty, you got, so many guys through the years. And Lawler, he's definitely, which one did I have the biggest feud with Dusty or with Lawler? I don't know. They were all huge feuds. A big part of my life was in the ring with Jerry Lawler and Dusty Rhodes and just so many other guys. And I can go back further than that. Hell, I was in the ring with Lou Thesz. Geez, who else is? The Lord's been good to me. He's been great to me. Hell, I'm still going in the ring. I'm going to be an absolute idiot. I'm going one more time, too. And I'm going to love every minute of it. I'm going to love kicking Jerry Lawler's ass. That's what I'm going there for. Am I coming down there for the money? No, I'm not coming for the money. I'm coming down there to kick Jerry Lawler's ass one more time. And that's the God's honest truth. I want to come down there and humiliate him in his own town where he says that everybody loves him. Well, he's full of bullshit. Everybody doesn't love Jerry Lawler. I don't love Jerry Lawler. I'm sure his wife can't stand him. Or his second wife can't stand him. Or his third or fourth wife. Or his seventh or eighth wife. How many times this moron get married? He's a moron. He's an idiot.
But he's the king, though, Terry. That's one thing you can't take away. He's the king.
He's the king. He's the queen. I don't know what he is. He don't know what he is. Jerry Lawler doesn't know what he is. He doesn't know if he's the king or the queen of Tennessee or Memphis. What is he, the king or the queen? He don't know.
Well, let's see.
Is Jerry Lawler a pervert? Of course he is. He's the biggest pervert I know. All right,
I can't confirm or deny that.
What, you can't deny it. Is that what you said?
I said
That's
I can't
what all
confirm
the
or
people
deny it.
You said, well, you can't deny it. If you said you can't deny it, you can't deny it. So Jerry Lawler is, he's the, I don't know, he's a little light in the feet, I think. He's a little swishy at times.
I think a name change
people
may be in order.
Tennessee need to take a good look at him.
That's pretty great. But I was going to say, you have Nature Boys, you have Kings, you have Dreams, you have all these fancy names, and that's one thing you didn't need.
Yeah, what a horrible night I must have. I got Nature Boys, Kings, I got the Dreams, I've got the Handsomes on Harley Race. I got them all. How in the hell do I sleep at night? How do I sleep at night if I got all of those images in my brain? What the hell do I think about at night? Do I think about it? I don't think about Dusty Rhodes. He's not here anymore. Maybe I won't have to think about Jerry Lawler anymore. Did you ever think of that?
Yes. Oh,
yeah,
yes.
And think about that. Think about, it's just one little punch to the heart. That might do it for him. That might do it. One little heart punch.
As I start to wind it down a bit here, you had so many legendary matches, and we didn't even mention guys like Brody and Hanson and Jack Briscoe, and you just mentioned there Harley Race, Bret the Hitman Hart, Cactus Jack. My God, you've literally wrestled the best of the best. Do you have any favorite matches that kind of stick out more than others?
Yeah, I'll tell you what matches stick out to me more than any others, and this is the God's honest truth. It's the matches that I had whenever I went in with my father into the ring. That was the greatest times that I had in my life. Those are my great memories of wrestling with my father around the country and being in the ring with him. And other than that, I also definitely remember as a child watching him in the ring. But being into the ring with him and having that opportunity to be with my father, that was one of the great things in my life.
That is great. Dory Funk Sr. obviously made Amarillo, Texas, very, very famous. What about wrestling with your brother, Dory Funk Jr.? Just fond memories of working with him
Love
as well?
to go, absolutely 100% so. Love tag team matches with him. That was dominance in Japan and dominating at the time, pretty much dominating the United States from one end to the other, with my brother. And I always loved getting in the ring with him. And going up against the Briscoes, that was a great enjoyment. That was a great team. It was a great enjoyment to go into the ring. And, I don't think we ever lost a match to them. I think we beat them 2 straight every time.
And you beat Jack.
I didn't hear much of an answer on that.
Well, that is true. That is probably, and you did beat Jack Briscoe for the NWA World Title. So you did a whole lot of big time matches.
Yeah, I'd like to kick Jerry's ass too.
Do you have any kind of real fond memories of working in Japan? I know you and Dory versus Bruiser Brody and Hanson from '84. It's just one of those 5-star matches that so many people remember.
They were awful tough matches. Really very physical matches. You mentioned the Briscoes, physical against him. You mentioned guys that that I'm thinking about right now. Dusty Rhodes. He was I had very physical matches with him. And Lawler the same way, as very physical competitor. If I want to sit down here and be as honest as I can about it, Lawler was a physical son of a gun, hard to beat kind of guy. Dusty Rhodes, Harley Race, the Briscoes, and so many guys that you guys had there in Tennessee too were awful tough. Tennessee was a hotbed of wrestling for years, not just a little while, but for year after year after year in the past, had some of the truly great ones come out of that state.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite place that you wrestled? Would it be the Tennessee area? Would it be Japan? Would it be Amarillo, Texas? Do you have possibly a favorite place that you've wrestled?
Well, I'll tell you what. That's, to be very honest with you, is it's my life. It's my love. It's what I enjoy more than anything else. And every time that I step into the ring, it's a wonderful, wonderful happening to me, because I grew up as a child watching my father. And whenever I grew up as a child watching him, I didn't want to be a fireman. I didn't want to be a football player like everybody else. I didn't want to be a cowboy. All of my life, because of watching my father in the ring, I wanted to be a wrestler. And that's what I wound up doing. And that's truly the love of my life, and really nothing beyond that enters my mind.
And Terry, as we get to wrap it up here and we get to talk about big-time wrestling one more time, the last question that we love to ask is really just about what you've left on the wrestling business. And obviously, you've left everything. I mean, you've done it all. Like we've said, you've wrestled everybody there is to possibly, not even name, but to think of, dating back decades. So if you had to pinpoint it, if you had to say it, and you look at what your legacy is, or the Funk legacy is in wrestling, what do you think it would be to the wrestling fan? What would Terry Funk and the Funk family mean to professional wrestling?
I would like to be remembered be respected, and to be loved by the wrestling fan, and to be thought of as giving 100% each time you stepped through the ropes. That means a great deal to me. Well, it certainly was a pleasure talking to you guys, and really mean that. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for giving me the time.